back to another edition of Quarantined Coaches. I am very torn today. I am a Florida State alum, and so to go to Gainesville to film one of these, it hurts my heart. But when you can get a legend on, and that's what we have, Coach Matt Dendekker, how are you?
I'm doing good, Josh. Appreciate you having me on. I know you said you're a Florida State guy, so I know this must be tough for you.
Well, we do have some ties, right? We grew up. We didn't realize this, but we grew up pretty much in the same neighborhood, just a couple years apart. Again, no, I appreciate it, man. Obviously, anytime we can have somebody on that with an awesome baseball background, experience at a great program, story to share, and I know your story is one that's unique. So I want to jump into that with you. We were talking beforehand a little bit about what was the recruiting process like for you on your way to becoming a player at the University of Florida. Can you tell me how that went?
Yeah. So, looking at how the recruiting process is now, I'm not an expert or by any means of that yet. Just got into coaching, but back in 2005, 2006, when I was nearing the end of my high school career, there was not much of that. I think it was more coaches would come see you play and you performed and they liked what they saw, and that's how it went. And for me, being a two-way guy at high school, I pitched a little bit and played center field, and nothing from the pitching side really stood out. So I don't think that was really anything to get me looks, but I always was a solid outfielder. I think maybe just being a two-way guy, I got overlooked a little bit, but I didn't have a ton of looks coming out of high school. I was going into my senior year and still hadn't signed with anybody. Was kind of in the back of my mind thinking just gonna, I'll go the JUCO route, try to perform there and sign on with a 4-year university after that. And my cousin Kevin Chapman, who actually played with me at Westminster Academy in Fort Lauderdale, was signed to go to Florida. So at the time when the recruiting coordinator would come down and watch him pitch, he, I always played well when he was there for whatever reason, and he would ask Kevin, like, who's that? And he would just be like, that's my cousin. He's he's a great center fielder. You guys should take a look at him. So it kind of worked out where I would perform well when he was there, and he would get a little more interest as time went on. And going into my senior year, he was like, yeah, come up to our camp. We had a winter camp, and that was right before my senior year. So I went up there, did well. I was always an athletic guy. I could run. Always had played really good defense out in center field. So I think that part of my game was always there. I think the offensive side, came along as I, got to school and, worked. And
were you talking to any other teams during this time?
No, there was nothing really set.
That's so
long ago.
That's so crazy though in today's world. As you and I, we kind of talked off camera about it. Just the idea of an SEC team, a team that's ranked number one pretty often in the country, still willing to take on an outfielder in the middle of that kid's senior year, let alone an outfielder who's not even really talking to anybody. Like, the times have changed so greatly.
They really have. And now I feel like the recruiting process starts way earlier for everybody. And like to go into my senior year kind of unsure if I was even gonna get a chance to go play somewhere, and then let alone it turns out to be an SEC school and University of Florida. And I feel fortunate that I got an opportunity, but it really is crazy how the things have changed, and how looking at it now, that probably doesn't happen very much.
No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all. It doesn't
for sure.
It doesn't happen. And then, not to mention, you get drafted twice while playing for the Gators. You go to Omaha with the Gators. You end up going on to have a pro career. And just to sit here as a guy who does talk about recruiting and looks at the high school and the JUCO route to get to where you are. Like, it's insane to say that that's how your story went, you know, on your way to Major League Baseball. So you get on campus at Gainesville as an athlete. What was maybe the biggest transition for you going from the high school game to the SEC game?
You know, you get to college, and now you're on your own. So, you know, obviously you got the team aspect, but now you kind of rely on what you learned growing up. And I've always been taught to work hard and you know, to earn your spot. So I think right when I got on campus, that was it. I was like, I got to work. If I want to be a guy on the team, I got to work. And you know, I feel like right away I was over in the cage. I was trying to get better and trying to learn from some of the older guys. And you know, I think from that first fall in Gainesville, I think I earned a spot. And my freshman year, I played a good portion of the time. I would say, I mean, I platooned a little bit out in center field, but I would say I was the majority of the time I was out in center. And I think it just kind of goes back to, you know, getting there and working and you know, kind of have that mentality, put your head down and work. You know, especially as a freshman, you want to come in and you're not going to be a leader in the clubhouse, right? But you can lead by, you know, how hard you work in those ways as well.
When did you crack the starting lineup?
So I think it was game 2, actually. You know, I played well in the fall, and I thought I would, you know, start opening day. And I think an older guy ended up starting opening day in center. And then I think the second day I played, and after that I played pretty well. I had an up and down freshman year. Didn't, I mean, play great numbers wise, but I got that experience where if I was not playing at all, then I wouldn't have been able to jump in my sophomore year and have as good as a year I did without that experience and the growing pains that I experienced my freshman year.
So you had a great sophomore campaign, and you end up going to play for Team USA, correct?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was incredible. It got to it was another situation where you know, I had to earn my spot. I got in as an invite to go to the training camp, which was I think it was in North Carolina to start, and then we traveled around and played some teams up in the New England Collegiate League, and I played really well, and I definitely earned a spot in that team. And we got to travel over to Europe. We played in Germany, the Czech Republic, and the Netherlands, and we ended up going undefeated this summer. Our pitching staff was ridiculous. We had like Strasburg, Leak, Mike Minor. I think they set a record for like the lowest ERA for a USA team, and we ended up not losing a game that whole summer. So it was pretty cool to you know, have those experiences. You know, those are some of the things that I'll remember in my playing career as, you know, moments that, you know, that you kind of, that stick in your mind. Just winning we won a gold medal in the Czech Republic in that tournament. So it was pretty cool.
So, okay. So you end up you're at Westminster. You don't have much going on. All of a sudden, you're at Gainesville, and the second game, you crack the starting lineup, move forward just a year and a half. Now you're on Team USA, and just knowing where we come from and the neighborhood where you and I both grew up, and hey, repping the 954. You're on cloud 9. There's no way you're not on cloud 9 right now. Did it have any negative effects on you?
Yeah. Like you said, you know, you come up and you kind of crash onto the scene, and you kind of have a name now. Now I'm thinking like, okay, now I'm a guy. Now I've made it. And that's when you kind of, you start to have those feelings. You get maybe a little bit complacent. You're maybe not working as hard, or now maybe you're looking at the draft. And I think going into my junior year, you know, I still worked hard, and I still, you know, wanted to win as a team. And that was our goal. We always wanted to, you know, win a national championship, get to Omaha. But you start to get these other thoughts that aren't there before. You know, guys are looking at you, you know, as a guy that could potentially go in the first round of the draft. So I think I put a little pressure on myself, and you know, started looking at things other than like what I should be doing on the field, and you know, focusing on the game. And and winning. And now I'm looking at it as, okay, I could get drafted here and possibly make a good amount of money here. So I think those thoughts, you know, I think they creep into everybody's mind, but it's how guys handle it. And I don't think I handled it great my junior year. You know, had a little bit of a down year, I guess, in my mind, and
Well, if you
didn't
don't mind
go.
me asking, like, how could you have handled it better? For young guys that are trying to learn,
Yeah,
you say, "Oh, I didn't handle it great." Well, what does that mean? Like, what do you need
it's
to do better in that situation?
it's
For
really tough. I mean, that's that's something like, you know, everybody probably wants the answers to, and there's no like perfect answer. Just looking from like my pro career, and you look back like seasons prior, and you're like, oh, I could have done this better. And it's like it's that like the hindsight, like you could always look back and do something better. And like, why was I thinking about that at the time? It's hard to completely like turn off some things at times and focus on one thing. I would say, I mean, really just try to, you know, focus on a day-to-day mentality, and you know, especially when you're playing in baseball and at bat to at bat, and you know, go up to the plate trying to figure out how you can win that at bat rather than looking in the long term. You know, it's an extremely difficult thing to do, and I know there's no perfect answer for anybody, and you know, every guy's different. Um, but if you can just focus on the day to day rather than like long term, especially in baseball when the seasons are long, you know, games are, you have to grind out at bats and try to, like, you know, people say don't give away at bats, but it really, you know, as I got older later in my career, you look back and you're like, there's so many at bats, you could have done something different. You could have, so like, I think it's just that mentality of trying to grind at bats out, grind the days out, and you know, not look too far ahead. And
right, it sounds like, you know, because I think, and I hate that I use that phrase a lot. I think, but I guess that's what we're doing here. I
mhm,
think, in my experience, when guys, younger guys hear like handle it better, they're thinking like, oh, don't party and don't do this and don't do that and still work hard. And what I'm hearing from you is that that wasn't the problem. The problem was just kind of letting your brain get clouded with everything that's going on.
yeah,
Is that fair to say?
for sure, yeah. And I mean, we're all human, and it happens. Like, it's hard to you know, really just focus on one thing, especially when you're in school too. You got school to worry about. You got you know, your grades to worry about so you can be eligible, and you're also you know, playing a sport at a high level too. So that was a fine line between like putting your focus too much on one thing. So I mean, I don't think, looking back on it now, I mean, it's hard to say I would change anything now just because how things turned out. And, you know, I ended up bouncing back my senior year, having probably the best year of my 4 years here at Florida. So I did use that as a year to learn and to get better. And so I think as long as you can learn from those years, or learn from those, I mean, mistakes or whatever, you know, whatever's thrown at you, then that's what makes, you know, a good player. You can learn from the failures. I think that's that's basically what baseball is learning from the failures, and that's going to happen a lot.
So you were drafted in the fifth round, correct? By
Yes,
the Mets. Was it the Mets?
Mets, fifth round Mets in 2010.
And okay, so now what's that like? Now it's like now you got to start all over.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, I mean, that was right at the Super Regionals of 2010, and um, I was sitting at my or my house in Gainesville, that me and my buddies, and just hear my name called on the draft. Back then, that's how it was. And but I mean, at the time, it was like I wasn't even. I mean, I was excited for it, but like I was so invested in my career here at Florida, and we had like business to take care of. We had Miami coming to town, and we had a super regional to win, and we had a chance to go to Omaha, which is something we were trying to get to for 4 years. So I don't really think I got to fully enjoy that process of it getting drafted, just because we were so locked into, as a team, um, to reaching our goal and getting to the College World Series, which we eventually did. Um, but you know, that's probably the thing that I remember most about being here, is just those memories with guys and being on the field here, and reaching those goals. And that's, I mean, anywhere you're in college, that's what I love so much about the game, is how much even now it's still like, guys come together and you're with each other so much of the time, whether it's on the field, in the dorm, in the classroom. Like, it's different than pro ball, because you go play the game, then you go back home, and then, but here it's like baseball, then you got school, and then you're eating at the cafeteria, you're together. I mean, if you're awake, you're pretty much with guys from your team, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is a cool way of breaking that down. I never heard that, but that makes complete sense. You went on to have a successful pro career. You made it to the major leagues, which is a huge success. I think if you tell any young kid, like, hey, you're going to get to the big leagues, you're going to have a few hundred at-bats, like, every kid's going to take that. You could have kept going, right? I mean, I know you're bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah.
You could have kept playing. You're not an old man yet, and you made the decision for you that, hey, you know what, it's time. I want to go back and do the family thing and finish up my degree. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, so 2018 was my last year with an affiliated team, and I thought I had a really good year. Played in AAA with the Mets. Got up to the big leagues for a few weeks that year, and I think just being at the top of the game in the big leagues the year prior made it so tough for me to hang them up and not continue. But the next season came. I had no interest from teams to sign me. I was 31 at the time, so I decided to go play in the Atlantic League, which is an independent league with the Long Island Ducks. And I told myself before I went, I was like, I'm going to give myself a month, play well and get signed, and get back to an affiliated team and work my way back up. So played up there for a month. I did okay. Played well. I mean, there's some really good players that are, trying to grind it out and get back to an affiliated team. It's not like you're just going to go there. A lot of guys think they're going to go to independent ball and be like, I'll be there for a week and get signed. But there's so many good players, and there's so many guys that are, so hungry to get a chance back in the game. And so I think, I was there for a month. I have a family. I have a 2-year-old son and my wife. They would come up and visit, and I just felt like for me, it felt right. It felt like the time, like, okay, like, I've done it all. I've played. This is my 10th year in professional baseball. I've been to the big leagues. Didn't play as well as I would like to when I was in the big leagues, but I got the chance and have so many great memories of that. And I was like, this is the time for me. It was the middle of June, and I took off in the next couple months, and I knew it was time to get back to school, and I just had a semester left to finish. So
time was right.
Time was right. Yeah, it felt right. Yeah, it felt right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you are back in Gainesville. You are back in class, and you are back in a Gators baseball uniform.
Yeah.
But you're a student assistant. Not you're not in the lineup, but it's pretty similar. I mean, you're up on the wall in that place, I'd imagine, right? I mean, you got to be one of the wall murals in there, right? With the other guys that have gone on to have success.
Yeah, there's a couple photos, I guess. In there.
I mean, how cool is that? Like, we all want to just be humble, but come on, that's awesome.
It's really cool to know. There's so much history around this program, and I walk into the locker room and there's a picture of me making a catch in Omaha from when I played here. So like it's pretty cool to walk in there and you go through the hallways and you see all the guys that play in the big leagues, and just to be part of that group. It's really cool to be in that group of guys that went to Florida, played professionally, and can come back, and we do the alumni game every year, and it's fun to come back and just like have those memories with those guys. And
do you match the alumni game?
It actually got canceled this year. We had there's a lot going on, and I I was ready to go. I was like in the cage getting some extra swings. Like I can't be out there pulling an oblique in the alumni game. I got to get some swings in. And then, but yeah, the years prior, I always enjoyed coming out and having some fun. We always had like a golf tournament before and then the game. So it was a lot of fun and just great to see all those guys.
So what this is a good reason how people can know just how talented the University of Florida baseball program is. When your student assistant coach was drafted 2 times in the major leagues, was a 5th round draft pick, went to Omaha, was a Team USA guy, played in the major leagues, and he's your student, and his pictures up on the wall whenever you're playing ball, and that's your student assistant coach.
Well, not to mention that we had another student assistant coach in Nolan Fontana, who was the same. He was a 2nd round draft pick. And
I remember that.
Also played for Team USA too. So we had a pretty good. Me and him, like I said, we had the best student assistant coaches in the country. That was our thing. We tried to.
Yeah, I'll give that to you. That's going to definitely be hard to beat. So what does it mean to be a student assistant as a coach? What are your duties or your functions? Are they the same as an assistant coach?
So, obviously we're not going out and recruiting and all that, but I think it was a really good opportunity for us to come out and, and basically learn. Like it's so much different than a player. Like some people don't realize, I always played. I'm like, oh, I could be a coach. I go out and throw BP easy, hit fungos. But like, you start throwing BP, and you're like, this is a lot harder than it looks. So it took me a little while to kind of to get my BP dialed in, and I would go in the cage and throw during BP just to like kind of to throw to some guys and get some left-handed BP. So try to make myself useful with some left-handed batting practice. I would work up my fungo game, got pretty good. So hitting fungos, and then just working with the outfielders. Craig Bell, who was my outfield coach here when I was here, who I learned a ton from as a player. Now I'm learning from him in a different way as a coach, and we always joked about like having that coach's voice, and I'm still working on that. So he's got a really good coach's voice. And
how many conversations have taken place, or are you noticing some of the guys, the juniors or seniors, coming to you that look like maybe what you looked like at that age, kind of in that same situation of what's coming ahead of them and coming to you for advice?
For sure. I mean, obviously here we get some pretty good players, and not only are they good talent wise, but they have that work ethic and they have that desire to get to the next level. So I think with me and Nolan here, I've heard it a bunch from guys that come up to me or Nolan and ask like what it's like in pro ball, like what my draft process was like. And I kind of say the same things that we were talking about earlier, how just kind of like take it day by day, not look too far ahead. And especially with this season, like I think with the season ending as soon as it did, like I think our guys did a great job early in the year, not looking too far ahead, and we had so much success early in the year. I think because we were so focused on where we were at in the year, not looking too far ahead. And it's unfortunate how the season ended, and but a lot of those guys, they want to know what it's like at the next level. They want to know, and I would just kind of break it down how like the pro season's a long season, and I think the biggest advice for me was to like get a solid routine. Obviously taking care of your body is a really important thing, especially in professional baseball where the seasons are so long. So I think that was the biggest message we would give to them, is prepare your body, keep your body in shape, get a good routine when you get to the ballpark. Talk to a lot of the hitters about finding your cage routine, which you can get into that and get some drills or what you do in the cage before you actually get out to BP, and you can do that on your own every day. And I think that's important, not only at the college level, but when you get to pro ball and the seasons do become so long, to have something you can lean on.
So what is next for Matt Dendekker? Because you went through the ranks, you made it to Florida, then you did your thing there, you made it,
Hmm.
made it to the pros, you started over, and now here you are again, kind of starting over, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely a transition. Like I said, when you go from playing to coaching, is there's definitely a change. And um, as a player, you kind of go out there and you know what you're doing. But then now as a coach, you're kind of observing, and now you have to like explain to what you're observing to the guys. So it took me a little time to kind of like understand how guys perceive things, and each guy's different. Some guys will get it right away. Some guys have to maybe explain a little bit more too. But um, I think that's the transition that I'm in now is learning how to be a coach rather than a player. And um, you got to, like, as a player, I try to be as humble as possible. And I think as a coach, you kind of got to be humble too. And yeah, I played in the big leagues. Yeah, I play at the highest level, but I still think I'm trying to learn from the guys that have coached before me and the coaches here, because I don't, I don't know the same things they do as coaching. And, I'm kind of like a player now. I'm learning from them, like asking them, what's this part of coaching like? What's the recruiting like as a coach? So I'm trying to ask questions to try to get a feel for what coaching like. And I think that's what I want to continue doing. I really
I was
enjoy
gonna
being out
say,
there.
do you feel like it's already predetermined? Because like I feel like you would go into a job interview for any other job, and they'd be like, "What's your experience? Where have you been? You're, baseball, like baseball, baseball, baseball." But like, do you
Yeah.
think your career path has already been chosen for you?
So it's pretty cool because I took a class last semester. It was a transitioning from sports class, which a lot of the seniors take here at Florida that are student athletes. So I think that was really great. It was really good for me to like know that, yeah, I did play sports, but I think a lot of athletes have those transferable skills that not only can, play in sports, but they can go to the business world and, be a successful, part of a business team, or be a good salesperson, or, the communications, the work ethic. Because being an athlete, there's a lot of things that you do that just a normal person doesn't do. We got to spend a lot of extra hours working, a lot of time traveling. I mean, traveling is probably my biggest skill now. I can pack up a suitcase and be anywhere in a couple hours.
Efficient, very efficient and
Exactly.
timely.
Yeah. So I think obviously, playing for so long, I'm pulled to being a coach, and I love the game so much. And at this moment, I would say that's what I want to continue to do. And, I was going to give myself the full season to like figure out if that was a thing. Obviously it was cut
That didn't
short,
happen.
but,
Yeah,
and, it was so much fun. Just, with the 17 games that we played, um, it was, it was fun being there, watching the game. I was coaching first base, and, just being part of the team and being, part of, the program here, especially, I think it's going to give me, a good resume builder for the future if I want to continue coaching. And as of right now, that's what I want to continue doing, and see what happens.
well, there's only one other place better than that you can go. So um,
I don't know. I don't know if I could get a job there.
this has been an awesome interview. I think it's not the story of Matt Dendekker, it's the story of a baseball player. And that's why I asked you to do this. I appreciate you doing it. I have one more question for you. You've had so many experiences and been so many great places and had success. And I want you to think of every team you've ever played for, say, from T-ball up until the last day of your pro career. If I gave you one day and you could put on one uniform and play in one last game, which team would it be for and why?
Oh man. Um, so it was probably my last year in the big leagues in 2018. I was with the Mets again. So I went from the Mets to the Nationals, Marlins, Tigers, and back to the Mets. But I never got to play in a Subway Series until my last year. Um, and I think probably back in a Mets uniform in the Subway Series, um, just with the whole New York Mets Yankees rivalry in the city, just to go back and relive that. And I mean, I played in a 3-game series at Yankee Stadium, which was, you know, unbelievable. Just the history with the Yankees versus the Mets and the Subway Series. I think going back and probably playing in another Subway Series game would probably be pretty cool experience. I mean, I got to do it already, but I think maybe
I don't think anybody can fault you for that answer. That would be pretty cool.
It's hard not to be a big fan when you go in there to Yankee Stadium and look around, and you're kind of just in awe when you walk out and like realize you're playing in not only in Yankee Stadium, but it's like the Subway Series, which is, you know, kind of a big deal in New York. So
did it make you kind of wish you played for the Yankees?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I just wondered if it was that, you know, if it was that.
No, I was never a Yankees fan or anything growing up. Marlins fan, you know, South Florida, but we took them down in the World Series, I think. What?
So a Subway Series, that's a good.
2003, we took them down, Marlins.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Subway Series.
Throw that in there before we get out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was pretty cool too when I played for the Marlins. Actually never made it to the big leagues with them. I was in spring training and then in AAA with a month. So I mean, if I ever got a chance to play in the big leagues for the Marlins, that would have probably would have been a you know, a cool moment for me, just because I grew up such a diehard Marlins fan, and that's kind of like where my love of the game came from, going to Joe Robbie Stadium.
Marlins player? Chuck Carr.
And Chucky Carr, man, I loved him. And that 97, I mean, Moises Alou, when he was there, was pretty cool. We always tried to do the no batting glove thing, when kind of be like Moises Alou. Trying to think of all the other guys.
I mean, everybody loved Jeff Conine.
Love Conine, Cliff Floyd,
CJ,
Charles Johnson. I remember we made a sign for Charles Johnson when we went to the parade when they won the World Series. So that was pretty cool.
Were you there when they won the World Series? Did you go to the game?
Yeah. I never went to a World Series game. I went to it was either the Division Series or the against the Cubs in 2003 when they won. They actually lost the game. It was in is that Joe Robbie, but
yeah,
we went
whatever,
to that game.
Pro Player, Sun Life, Hard Rock.
I was a huge Marlins fan growing up. Non-Marlins player, probably Andrew Jones. I hated the Braves, but I loved Andrew Jones in center, and that's kind of one of the memories I had from going to the games there was when he threw me a ball, and I was sitting in the outfield seats and threw me one of the balls like in between warm-ups. So that was pretty cool. I always remember that, even getting older and being a fan and, you know, being in the big leagues. I always try to throw the ball up to the kids and stuff, just because I remember him doing that when I was a fan.
Oh yeah, we used to pester all of them. I was at that game, the Game 7 game when the Marlins won, and part of me is obviously stoked that I got to experience that, and part of me is really upset that I was at that game. And the reason is because now, if anybody ever asks me what's the best baseball game I've ever been to, I have to say it was a Marlins game. Because that was it was a football stadium hosting a packed football stadium hosting a World Series Game 7 that came down to a walk-off.
That was one of the best games ever, right?
It was really good. Again, I thank you so much for coming on. I think it's a great story, a great baseball story, and offers a lot for young people coming up to learn from. So thanks for coming on and doing this.
All right, Josh, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.